Hey folks, thanks so much for pressing play on this video. I'm super excited about this race. More excited than any Zwift race I've ever done, and I'm at around 200 races now. What you see here is me warming up for the 3R Three Sisters Hilly race. And what makes this race unique is that I have two A+ racers working for me for this entire race. Now, to put that into context, to be an A+ racer on Zwift Power, you need to have an unadjusted 20-minute power of over 4.8 watts per kilo. And one of these racers, he has a ranking of 167 on Zwift Power, which is better than any rider that I'm aware of in this area that I live. So we planned for this. We researched the course, obviously, 3 big climbs, 4 if you count the radio tower and the bonus climb. One of the guys even rode the entire course a week before just to get a good feel for what we were in for. We compared times on different segments in Strava, and we then agreed tactics. Tactics for climbing, tactics for descending, things like what are we going to do if somebody else gets into our group and we want to get rid of them. And we also tested our Discord channel. One of the guys even bought a Bluetooth device so that they could push a button and switch the camera angle so they could look back at me and make sure I'm not getting dropped. And they could also push a different button for push to talk on Discord. We also agreed in-game frame and wheel choices. I'm on more of a climbing oriented setup and the other 2 guys are on more of an aero setup so that we can team time trial back down the hills. Now all of this is with the objective of getting me across the line as fast as possible. To give you a feel for this task, I raced the same race a few months before and I came in 12th out of 14 A races. Now that took me 1 hour and 22 minutes and I had a 20-minute unadjusted power of 4.1 watts per kilo. That's definitely category B power. Now the names of the other 2 riders, because we're not wearing the same outfit, are N English and P Weir, and I'm Baron. I've got a yellow patch on my back and Nick is wearing a Z team strip. P Weir is in neon pink. I've also windowed English's recording of the race so that you can see that up here. Some of these tactics really worked out extremely well in the race, so I'm excited to show you those. Just a couple of highlights. Cool.
We've got A's and B's in our parents.
Couple things to note as we get going. I'm streaming this live and I'm watching the comments from my R4 CF team and some close friends up on the screen, which is why sometimes I'm smiling and sometimes I'm crying. The sound that you hear, the voice sound you're going to hear, is from Nick English calling the shots on Discord. I don't have anybody else's audio. And I forgot to tell you that going into this race I'm classified as a B rider. We're just coming up to the Hilly KOM now, and we're going to fast forward until things get a little bit more strung out.
Pushing.
So as we approach the banner here, you can see that N English and P Weir are dropping back to stay around me. Important that we push over this crest pretty hard, and we do. We stay connected to the front group, which means that we're pretty safe until the next climb.
Go smooth off with it. I don't think anyone will go too hard, but...
So I said to Nick and Pete that I thought that this would be a place where somebody might attack, and in most races it is, but with this course it doesn't make sense to, because we're coming up to the epic KOM. You know, Nick was right, no one's going to attack here. It's a wicked place though sometimes, because you got to punch over the top and then you get straight into the gravel, which slows everybody's bike down. But yeah, not on this occasion.
Just the start of the epic. Don't go too far into the road at the beginning. Back off a little bit.
So we're now about 1/3 of the way into the epic climb, and frankly I'm struggling to get into a rhythm. I'm struggling to hold my power up, and my heart rate isn't where I want it to be at all. Yeah, a bunch of A riders have now gone down the road, and if you look, you can see that Nick is using the top-down aerial view to see exactly where I am and to drop back and pace me. And I have to be careful. I don't use his pacing as an excuse just to not go full gas. I'm doing everything I can, but not very happy right now.
Just back off a bit, Pete. Got a 1 second gap. Okay, come into a flat. And just roll up to these guys on the flat.
So we're coming up to the flat section here, about halfway up the epic climb. Now this is my first chance really of the race to get a little bit of a break and let the two aero guys come to the front and do a bit of time trialing for me. I feel much better about everything. I'm able to hold 340, 350, 360 watts kind of a bit more consistently, but on this flat section I can, you know, as the speed increases I can just use the draft effect and let the two guys go to work. We start reeling a few people in and things start getting a little better from here on in. So we are cresting top of the radio tower, managed to get PR on the way through the banner at the top of the epic climb, and on our way up the radio tower climb we actually saw the lead A rider coming down the other way, Scotty Weiss, who would go on to win this race.
Okay, you on? Push.
Two guys as we crest kind of want to push ahead a little bit. I need a bit more recovery. It takes us a little while to kind of regroup, all three of us, and then we've got this fourth rider you can see here. He seems to be a pretty strong B, who is our first target and our first test of our kind of ability to team time trial it down the other side. See what happens.
Okay, super track.
So here we are. This is what I came here for, on the wheel of an accomplished time trial rider in real life. And as we get close to this B rider, get the signal from Nick to punch it and you know, give it 600 or 700 watts.
Okay, ready? I'll punch it, right? Yeah. Okay, ready? Go!
Come past this guy and I think it takes him a second to respond. Maybe he wasn't expecting that. Probably thought he was going to get an easy ride with us all the way down. Manages to put out 7.7 kilo or watts per kilo or something like that, but I think he realizes pretty quickly that he's beaten. Pete's already down the road. We just collect him here and off we go, hunting our next victim.
Okay, it's going to be a climb, so get ready. Go!
Took us a little while to catch this guy, and probably the climb played into our hands a little bit. Nick just sort of drifts off the front there, but I get a perfect draft off of Pete, and we punch it over the crest. And once again, I think probably he thought he was going to be able to get in with us and just cruise down a little bit. Seems like he made a bit of an effort to get on after we went past, but there was no chance. So we do this quite a few times to some individuals. But I want to fast forward a bit so we can get to the volcano climb.
Okay, so try and punch flaps, ready? Go!
So at the time that we passed the last guy on the descent, this group of 5 riders were 18 seconds ahead of us. And Nick and Pete have just spent 5 minutes time trialing up to them, taking quite long pulls. And as we try to come past them, try and punch it past them, I just don't have it in me. And I wasn't properly connected to Nick or Pete's wheel. So I end up in no man's land a little bit here. And I'm really starting to struggle. It's also frustrating because I haven't been doing any of the real work for the last 5 minutes.
Okay, get ready, Pete. Ready. Watching. Okay, I'm waiting.
Nick would have to drop back a fair amount. The rest of the group is putting in a significant amount of effort, and so my objective here is just to hold on with them.
Okay, I think we're with them, aren't we?
I struggle a bit down this gravel road.
Okay, well, we've got 17 seconds to the next group, so let's catch them.
So Nick's keeping a close eye on me, asking me if I'm okay. And it's a bit of a worrying moment actually in the race here where I'm kind of detached from the back of this group.
Pete, hold back. Yeah, I see you.
Nick drops all the way back. Fortunately, there's at least one other back marker. I think I basically get it together so that when we get onto the tarmac, I could just get back up into the group.
Okay, you in?
I mean, there are some points like this where you just can't rely on other people. You've got to dig deep and stay in.
Okay, give you a second to get your breath and then we'll push it on.
Pete told me afterwards that he was purposefully hanging around in that front group, just slowing things down, which is great. Now it's just a case of hanging in and waiting for that volcano climb.
Guess you don't have too long for the climb, eh? Okay, we've gone past on the descents, 40 seconds behind now.
So we just started the volcano climb and I'm still in that group of seven, eight of us guys. Nick and Pete have their eyes set on this group ahead of us, 8 or 9 seconds ahead. It looks like there's 3 or 4 guys up there, so they want to go off and chase those guys. I don't have the legs, so I end up sitting in this group that we're in just for now. So we've gone through the tunnel, we're about 2/3 of the way up the climb now, and this is where I start to crack a little bit, at least compared to this group here. I'm trying to hold 350, 360 watts. I'm trying not to get in and out of the saddle. That will probably just end up fatiguing. I'm trying to stay in a rhythm. But as you can see here, Nick is having to stay back with me. Nick's aware that there's some flat bits coming up, so I could benefit maybe from a wheel if the speed is high enough.
Okay, coming to a flat, I'll just push up slightly.
Pete decides to stay with the group, just kind of man mark, see what happens. Obviously he'll wait for us at the top if we don't reconnect. So coming up to the crest here, putting out a bit more effort because there's a little bit of kick here in the gradient. And you can see that we're not that far off of that group. Group's getting a bit strung out, 5 seconds ahead of us. Nick's still holding back for me, and that's Pete in the distance there, just dropping off the back of the group in order to help us bridge the gap. What happens next is really the highlight of my race. So I'm just going to let this play and do a bit of a voiceover a bit further down the road.
Bridging the gap. Okay. Okay, sprint. Super tuck.
So as we get into a group and establish a rhythm, Nick is calling the shots here on when we stop pedaling and do the super tuck and when we don't. And it's not really about the dynamics of the Zwift engine and kind of what's the most efficient. I think the important thing here is that we put power in at the same time.
Okay, push.
And we stop pedaling at the same time in order to keep us smooth and together.
Okay, so we can get past him on the downhill by with a kick if we can.
So I know that the call is going to come from Nick to give a big kick and get past these guys. Try and preserve some energy, listen for the command.
Okay, get ready. Go!
And then we punch it.
You want it, I want it. Okay, push, push, push.
What we see here is the same thing that we've seen all race. I think that whole group of guys just thought that we were all going to get together and cruise down the hill. And, you know, we put out a big effort coming down. You can see some of the guys are putting out 6.5, which probably at this late stage in the race it amounts to an effort to try and catch our wheel again. But I've got Nick and Pete on the front now, and all I have to do is hold on and watch them start to take turns. I think I shouted something like, "Suckers!" on the way past. I know I'm not smiling, but this is absolutely the best part of my race. So much fun.
There you go, Pete.
So I'm just going to keep letting this play, and I'm going to leave the Discord channel on so you can Here, Nick.
It's like climb. Push, push, push.
So it's less than 3 miles to go in the race now, and I think it dawns on all three of us that our final objective here will be to try and catch these guys who are about 9 seconds ahead of us before the finish line.
Go, push.
My objective here is to consider how close we're going to get to that objective and whether I should even try and come around and take a pull just in order to connect and give myself a chance with at least grabbing 1 or 2 places, maybe at the very end. But that's obviously at the risk of kind of wearing myself out and making myself completely useless in the sprint. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on how well these guys are doing and what my role here will actually be when we get to the finish line.
6 seconds. You can.
So as we watch Pete and Nick do their thing on the front here, you'll see that the lead is probably doing around 5, sometimes 6 watts a kilo on the front there. And have a look at Nick's heart rate. He's at 188, 89, 190 beats per minute. 190 beats per minute for me is death. I think my max is 185. And Nick's no spring chicken. I won't tell you his age, but to give you a feel, I think he went to the 2004 Summer Olympics.
Let's see the group ahead.
So I know by looking at this that they're pretty much at max as they try to close this gap.
It's like time. Five seconds ahead. We'll try and punch past these guys.
So it's taken us about 1.5 minutes to make up 1 second on this group, and I think it's dawning on us that they're working pretty well together, which I really didn't expect, because of most long races like this, once you're in a group like that, you know, what tends to happen is people just sit in and wait for the sprint a mile or 2 out. That doesn't seem to be happening here. I think they know that we're on their tail and they know that we're coming, and clearly they're organised and don't want to give up potentially 3 more places should we connect.
There we go. Okay, let's push on a little bit, Pete.
And it's here in this tunnel that I make the decision not to come around and try and do a pull, purely on the basis that I've only got a little bit left in me, and if we do manage to connect, then I'd like to use that in the sprint. Having said that, like, the further this goes on, we get down to 4 seconds. The longer this goes on, the more I realise that we've got 1 straight left now, and half a mile, and we're just probably not going to connect to these guys. Again, I'm wondering if I should just come around so we can get a bit closer, and then I'm wondering what the point of that is, because of course for Nick and Pete, like, placement in this race is not something they need at this point. They're way further back than they would be if they were just racing this by themselves.
And we go from 500 to Olympian and go from 400. Can't do much. Okay, I'm good now, good now.
I do my best to put on a sprint here, come under the line, and we're 4 seconds off still from that group ahead, which is kind of annoying, but what a race.
I didn't quite get him.
Well, thanks to Pete and Nick, that's mission accomplished. My highlight was probably getting dropped on the volcano climb and then smashing straight through that same group on the way back down the climb. But also, I took 6 minutes off my previous race time. Most of the other riders didn't seem prepared for anything like it. This was great fun, genuinely great fun, perhaps the best fun you can have in a Zwift race. So thanks a lot, guys, for watching. See you next time.